the Paladin and Nalguidan on the Hunter.
Nalguidan getting off to a gorgeous start with the classic one-cost beast into Razormaw. Pretty much what you're looking to get against a lot of matchups, because similar to what Sottle was saying, while Spellstone is still incredibly powerful in this matchup, a lot of the time it is better just to get that early curve.
It really is, and I actually love the Hyena this turn instead, because, well, against this Paladin, the best is what Ardent Protector.
Yeah.
Then you kill it, and you can raise them off a Hyena. If it's something else randomly, where you can play a Lynx and raise them all the 1/1 and then leave the Hyena to not need to trade, for example. So this is very, very powerful indeed. And now with this follow-up, I feel like the Razormaw is going to go on the Hyena and looking extremely for like a Divine Shield.
Anything that buffs health, pretty much, as Divine Shield is found just to play against the coin into Consecration, which now Apxvoid, he's shaking his head. Yeah, he is not happy about this at all.
And this is when you just have full recognition of what your opponent's deck can do.
Yeah.
Divine Shield over Wind Fury on a Hyena.
Yeah.
It feels weird, but it is 100% correct, because okay, you can deal 4 damage. You can't deal that damage or any damage if your Hyena's dead. So Divine Shield, very good pickup. Christology though, for Apxvoid for his next turn to start drawing. But this Hyena is a little bit scary.
Yeah, I would even argue more than a little bit scary for Apxvoid, because while you can tank a little bit of damage at the start of the game, I suppose a fair bit of damage when you factor in Crystal Smith Kangor as well, the healing that affords you, you can only take so much. There's not actually that many heal cards in the deck. After you get through the Flash of Lights and Uther, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, the idea is you need 1 healing turn.
Yes.
And that's enough.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I heal every turn and I'm fine. This is going to sound silly, and this is why I like this play from Nalguidan if he goes through. I love this, because I was going to make a half joke.
Yeah.
The APX can play around the Hyena by just not killing any minions and taking a couple of turns worth of damage.
Yeah.
Like I said, half joke, but it's something you can consider, not developing on the board if the other minions can trade off and buff the Hyena. But now, I feel like Nalguidan's almost just got Apxvoid in checkmate already.
I am now definitely of the mindset that any half jokes both of us have to be taken very seriously indeed, because we joked about double Dead Man's Hand in the first game. We're joking about self-flanky strike there, but every time it's like, that's just a good play.
Yeah, it just seems good. Really, we just geniuses. This is the thing. We just both think outside the box.
Yeah. To
the extent where there is no box anymore.
We're just thinking.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Too much. It's 1 step too far for me. So, does Apx have to... Do you have to draw into the second Righteous Protector and then play both and say, I'll deal with you next turn?
Well, he has to hit Pyro, right? Is his out.
But the thin in the deck helps, right?
Yeah.
But if he doesn't coin draw, wow.
Well, if he goes coin Christology, then Pyro doesn't clear anymore, because he can't. He'd have to go Pyro Equality, which doesn't clear the Hyena.
True. So next turn he can draw Pyro Coin Equality.
Yeah. Or Pyro Coin Consecration,
but
whatever. Pyro Coin Christology. Yeah, Pyro.
But not doing it this turn means that it's less likely for him to draw into it.
Yes.
Because Christology only draws 1 attack minions, so it's not going to draw a Pyro.
Yeah, but it thins his deck. But even then, even if he drew the Pyromancer, then it just wouldn't do the job. So he needs to hope he gets incredibly fortunate and finds that Pyro.
Okay, we're going to see the grand plan. It's going to be Holy Wrath 25 to the face, and now we need to deal 5 more damage. Yeah, I'm with the APX. I don't really know what to do, friend. It's like the unbeatable board. The Divine Shield was so clutch.
Yeah. This is just nuts from Nalguidan. And worth pointing out as well, a really good slowing down there, because I have to be honest, it's just autopilot almost at this point, that when you have the curve of one drop into Razormaw, you take that. But he slowed down a little bit, realized that protecting this Hyena was the most important thing, and is being rewarded for that massively.
Okay, now, even with 4 mana, it's doable.
It's playable. But I mean, the amount of damage that he's going to be taking, like the Hyena would go up to 6, which is like 6, 9, 12. very close to lethal already. I don't think it's possible on this turn, but getting there. Even with Huff or Leo.
There's going to be a secret hero now?
Well, Nalguidan knows that the only way that APX gets back in this game is a board clear. A full board clear right now. So he's thinking, why do I develop? Because if he doesn't have it, I win anyway. I don't need to commit anymore. And if he does have it, I need refill.
And Huffer wouldn't actually... Wait. He would have done 3 extra damage? Okay. I was wondering if he got Leok, would that have changed much?
He would have done the same amount of damage, I think.
Yeah.
Right. Oh no, 1 less, actually.
Wait, 1 less? Why?
Because the mole attacked into a minion rather than face. Whereas...
Right, but all the minions that did attack face would gain +1.
Let me think.
But Huffer does 4.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I thought you meant versus not playing it.
Oh,
I was
right,
like, no,
sorry.
of course he'll be more damage. He doesn't trade any more away. Anyway.
Again, we are arguing completely different points.
For the same outcome.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah,
it's finally
last.
here.
And now this is the whole game for Apxvoid now is going to be, can he not die? Because he needs to survive just a couple more turns. Master's Call is not going to help Apxvoid here because it's just giving Nalguidan more juice. And if he gets, say, for example, Rhino, there can't be many more minions actually left. Oh my.
That is exactly the pig that Nalguidan was looking for. And it means for Apxvoid, heal needs to come right now
or
the game is over.
Ooh. I mean, it's heal, just not playable.
Crystology into Kangor doesn't do it.
Wow.
Crystology into... I mean, he needs to get Flash of Light, right? It has to be that right now.
Did 2? No, it's Kangor, I think. I think it was Kangor he got, which obviously would not do any healing live. And Apex just got stomped. Starfruit, Ant versus Racy, and then Bobby X, who we saw earlier, versus Leome. I will say Ant versus Racy, I believe those guys are pretty good friends. So that one might hurt a little bit considering both players are 2-1.
Yeah, the one that stands out for me though is Noblord sitting at 3-0 after he said that this is pretty much his last foray into competitive Hearthstone. I think with him finishing university, it's really nice for him to get a final good performance in HCT because he's had a rough go of it for such a strong player.
He has. Let's go into game number 2 of our series we get to cast, though. It's going to be Nalguidan versus Apxvoid. Nalguidan just stomping game number 1 with his Hunter, now using his Odd Rogue versus Apxvoid's Hunter.
Yeah, this is a matchup that I do not love as the Odd Rogue. The Hunter, I feel like, just has a little bit too much ability to lock down that early game, and even though the amount of healing it has is very limited, the fact that it does such a strong job of locking down the early game early on is really what I think makes it a nice matchup against the Rogue.
Yeah, one thing that does always help, though, is good old Myra's Unstable Element that we can see in Nalguidan's opening hand. I don't know how you feel about this, but we talked about last weekend where Admirable and Sol, and you were probably knocking around as well, Darren, that they were saying, like, do you just mulligan for and keep Myra's a lot of the time? Because outside of heavy control actually not even heavy control matchups, heavy aggro matchups, you might just say, well, Myra's just either get there with Myra's or I'm going to lose anyway. So it's just weird as a card that empties your deck and costs 5 mana is a mulligan card.
I mean, I know that you and I have been playing more Miracle Rogue than Odd Rogue recently, and in that deck where you have Prep as well, it's just an insta-keep every time just because it's so insanely powerful. But I can absolutely see the merit for it, just because it hyper-advances you through to a late-game state, at which point you function a lot more powerfully, especially if you're running Edwin in the deck, which Nalguidan is not. He has omitted that in favor of some of the tech cards, like Ironbeak Owl that he has as a very surprising tech option.
I do like this play from Nalguidan because APX set up to say, well, you either dagger down a 2/2 using a dagger taking 2 damage and leaving the mole, or you coin out a 3-drop. Well, you can't because it dies instantly.
Yeah.
But the SI7 agent was the perfect blend of them both for Nalguidan, not only taking down the Hyena, but also dropping a 3-drop onto the board.
And this just now plays itself for Nalguidan. Very easy Deadly Poison to clear up this board. He's still got a very healthy SI7 agent knocking about. And even with the Tempo Swing of Flanking Strike available for Apxvoid, Nalguidan's looking in a surprisingly good spot.
Yeah, the problem with that deadly poison is that the tempo swing you gain is already lost because at worst, the dagger kills the 3/3 and they play a thing.
Yeah.
This thing now being, for example, Vicious Fledgling right after a flanking strike. Seems good.
Seems very good indeed. Setting up for a Fungal Mancer as well. He really just needs to think about what removal is he weak to on this turn, which is basically like another flanking strike, maybe Hunter's Mark plus Candle Shot could maybe get the job done, but it's looking like it's probably just going to have to be either Hunter's Mark, Springport, or a kill command.
Oh, it's flanking strike now.
Or a flanking strike, that'll do it too.
But this is why the Argent Squire is really nice, because at worst, Nalguidan can still play Fungalmancer, kill the 3/3, and still have the Argent Squire as a 3/3 and the 2/2 of the Fungalmancer on the board. Which, I'll be honest, I wouldn't hate. Everything else feels a little bit weaker.
Yeah, the alternatives being like trade in the Squire and the Dagger and then just play triple 1-drop, sorry, which is very weak to Rexar.
And I just don't like taking the damage.
Yeah,
I think I'd rather just trade the Divine Shield away. You've seen double flanking strikes now.
Yeah.
Like, if then APX would kill command a 3/3 Argent Squire, cool. I'd be okay with that. Looks like Nalguidan disagrees, though.
I wonder if he's going to trade in Deckhand plus Dagger just to play around Rexar. And then he's accepting the risk that Rexar could come down and completely destroy his game plan.
Oh no, for some reason I thought I said 10 mana. It's like, what? What's going on? They don't even run it in this list.
I would not play that Candle Shot.
This is risky. Paid off, though.
Yeah, it's looking real nice. I mean, like, Apx's Void hand... Apx's Void... Wow, that... Let me start again.
Go on.
Restart myself. Apxvoid's hand...
Oof, good one.
...has just had absolutely no value so far this game. It hasn't been a bad anti-rogue hand at all, because he had, obviously, the double flanking strike, which is incredibly powerful in this matchup, a Diamol on 1, but he really needed to have found, by this point, Rexar, or in particular, a Master's Call would have been huge.
I think it all just comes off the back of the Coin SI. Just shutting down the Hyena whilst gaining tempo was just such a powerful play. It's funny because some odd rogues don't even play SI anymore.
But then again, even though it looks like Apxvoid was punished for playing the Hyena on 2, if he hadn't done that, there's a very good chance that Nalguidan would have gone Coin Fledgling instead and just run away with the game.
Exactly.
Like, this could be a lot worse for Apxvoid.
Yeah, and now suddenly you start to see the power of Myras at this point in the game. Drop Fungalmancer, drop the Mole, whack, 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 next turn, draw your deck, let's go. Because Hunter and Apxvoid just doesn't have any given card, or maybe even 2 cards, that realistically deal with this board. Wait, so...
I mean, I guess it's fine. Or do you go aggressive? Do you
I think I just hit face.
So how much damage is this now? It's 10, 12, and then 14 if you factor in the 2 dagger swings. The 2 bow swings,
Apex runs a life drinker.
I don't know. Maybe that is the most likely avenue to victory that he has.
Sometimes you have to play the cards that are in your hand.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say always you have to play the cards that are in your hands in Hearthstone, actually.
Listen to what I mean. Not what I say, Derek. We discussed this.
I did know exactly what you mean, but I cannot not be facetious. And there we go.
Like it. And
easy to face.
This is recognition that you very quickly learn as a aggro mage player. And Apxvoid is definitely an aggro mage player. I don't mind the Candle Shot just to remove the 3, because that 3 damage might buy you 1 extra turn of damage yourself.
Yeah.
And it's 1 damage for 3, so I think that's a reasonable one.
I don't know. I think I like the trade-in of the Springpaw there. Just save this 2 damage for face. Like, what does this Springpaw do? Maybe it buys him an extra turn because a Mole has to go into it?
Well, on 24, he's just saved himself, what, like 4 damage? That's reasonable.
No, he hasn't saved himself 4 damage, right? Because he could just trade in the Springpaw into the minion instead.
Anyway,
the Springpaw just didn't attack. He saved
himself 1 total.
And I think 1 damage to his opponent is probably more valuable than saving 1 health to himself. I don't know.
I wonder.
Oh, a little bit scary, actually. There is a Unleash the Hounds in this deck. So there's Unleash and there's Dire Frenzy.
Yeah.
So there's actually more burst damage than I actually maybe gave APX credit for after the kill.
There's a lot. This is the benefit of the non-secret version.
Yeah.
Is the Life Drinkers and Unleash the Hound that you get. And his play would have worked out pretty much the same because he could go Kill Command Hero Power and Weapon to face this turn, gets his opponent down to an even health total, which is the difference when you have the Hunter Hero Power. But Tar Creeper punishes that line of thinking pretty heavily.
So Nalguidan needs 4 damage to win the game next turn.
Yeah.
4 damage isn't unlikely considering there's 2 Cold Bloods still in the deck and a Myra's Unstable Element, which
It's almost definitely over.
you play that. You make
Yeah.
if you don't draw damage next turn as Nalguidan, you play Myra's because you probably win, and probably is good enough quite often.
And here we go.
Yeah, full committal.
He sees 1 line to victory. He's hoping 1, I don't die, and 2, he
Life
top decks
Drinker.
Life Drinker. Yeah,
There's 4 damage.
that'll do it.
You still play the Myra's.
I guess so.
Nalguidan just doing the numbers check.
Yeah, actually,
That you
suppose
do.
we shouldn't say he's won the game quite yet. We should say he's
Yeah, we've said that once today,
Exactly.
Derek, and we were wrong.
he's probably won the game at this point.
If he doesn't miss lethal, he wins the game. And this is the power of Myra's, right? Not only one, he drew a Cold Blood. There's a second one. There it
Oh
is.
my God.
There's a Deadly Poison. There's SI7 Agent. There's like another deckhand that could have been drawn, and so on and so on and so on. So that's the power of Myra's. That's the power of Odd Rogue. And that's the power of Nalguidan right now as he goes 2-0 for Apxvoid. And I'll be honest, through no real fault. What else? Making sound effects. Okay, one Truce of a Whole, 1 Holy Wrath,
Yeah.
1 Shrink Ray. This is probably the one of 2 builds that are generic builds, I should say,
Yeah.
of this. And I don't know how much I like it, Derek.
This
I
is-
like double Holy Wrath.
This is 1 card off the list that I'm playing. He's got 1 Blood Mage Thalnos instead of 2 Potion of Heroisms, which I have. I think his is probably better. I think 2 Potion of Heroisms is a little bit overkill. But
Also, Christology always gets value with more one-pack
right,
minions.
yeah.
and such.
I mean, I like this build a lot. I think True Silver Champion is very good at the moment because I like it a lot against Hunter to fight back against the flanking strikes, animal companions, things like that, just to get a little bit of single target removal in a deck that has effectively no single target removal at all. And I mean, maybe I'll have to play more with the version of 2 Holy Wraths, but I don't know. I feel perfectly fine playing it.
Okay. Okay, well, as we go into this game, it's going to be Apex is going to cue his Cloning Gallery Priest onto this. And this is a question I feel like we need to ask every single time Paladin locks in a game is, how do they win this matchup?
Yeah.
Because against Priest, non-quest Priest, maximum of 30 health,
Yeah.
right? So I would naturally go, okay, you equip Uther, no weapon removal as well in the Priest, and then you swing for 5 and then can deal 25. That's lethal. But then you have to consider, okay, what about Grizzlies? What about Ziliacs? When can you burst? Can you do it? You know, what if you draw one of them last or something? So it can really mess with you a little bit. And I think it's very difficult to decide to switch game modes in terms of going for those 4 horsemen. But what do you think in this matchup, Derek?
I think what I've realized playing more and more of this Holy Wrath Paladin is how often you go for the Horseman OTK. Like, so much more than I would originally have guessed. I'm quite happy throwing down Holy Wrath as a draw if I'd run out of draw. As long as you have Uther on 9 or close to being on curve, I really like that game plan. But I think one of the strongest aspects of this deck is how late you have to decide. You don't have to lock into Holy Wrath or Horseman OTK anytime soon because you can just hold back the Pandas, hold back the Zola. They're not paramount to use them early on. And then just later on in the game, that's when you decide which one to go for. And you keep your opponent guessing, which means they can't always play around both methods effectively.
One thing that I've run into a few times is just to see this Radiant Elemental just stick to the board a little bit now for this turn, is that sometimes you can actually just get away with, you have Uther equipped, you hero power, pass,
Yeah.
and then the 2/2 lives, and you're like, oh.
Now I
Because
switch.
now I have 2 unique, and then suddenly you're just 1 roll away from winning the game.
Yeah.
And that happens a scary amount of time, at least in my experience. But just a note here as well, you can see that nice 25 mana Christology means that Nalguidan used Lens and it ended up getting the Chevala for 2 mana, which almost instantly reduced it low because the Lens takes it down to 0 anyway. So that Chevala will be 0 until it is bounced or Zolid, and then it reverts back to its normal mana cost. It is only that exact Chevala until it hits the board has that mana cost right now.
Yeah, this is what I always forget. I'll swap it with Prismatic Lens, play it, bounce it back, and it'll go back to costing like 16 mana.
And you're like, no!
But what it does mean that as soon as Nalguidan finds Holy Wrath, he can just let rip with Chevala, Banker, and play the Holy Wrath, because maybe that gets him the win. Who knows? If things are looking truly miserable, there's always that gambit.
And against Clone Priest, things can look miserable.
Oh, yes.
Especially because, you know, Cloning Gallery plays around Shrinking Ray because the minions are already 1/1s.
The strict counter.
Genius, yeah, Shrinking Ray this, Clone Gallery. Although being at 2 mana means that almost, I feel like Shrinking Ray is almost now can be used as a single target removal because the specific one he has in hand is just so cheap. You can just go 2 mana, trade this 1/1, Malagos is dead. Maybe not for this, because the weapon he's got equipped, but in general, if it gets resummoned, it's not as much to punish as spending 5 mana killing 1 minion.
Yeah. No, I see your point. And Nalguidan here has run into that awkward spot that you so often do as OTK Paladin, where you just don't have enough hand space. What does he play here? Crystal Smith Kangor, you want to save that, you want to heal with it, but he just needs to dump anything from his hand to make room for the draw so that he can find Uther.
I wouldn't even mind dropping a Pyro at the end of this turn.
Me neither.
Because if you really think you're going to clear the board with a Pyro, great. But now does the game plan switch?
Yeah, this is getting pretty spicy now because, as we can see, Apxvoid is kind of getting close to a, maybe not an OTK of his own, but aggressive potential, to say the least, with Malagos now in the Resurrect pool. It means Nalguidan, even if he's able to go Uther next turn and start bouncing back the Horseman with Youthful Brewmaster, Apxvoid could maybe just get that 30-40 damage OTK.
And what's interesting here is, with this Uther now, Nalguidan has some time to actually try and draw Zola, because he can say what you want to do in this spot where you're still a little bit unsure. Maybe you hit them in the face, draw the deck and kill him, but you can save Baleful Banker to last for the Horseman.
Yeah.
And then just say, well, I can still Baleful the Chevala and Holy Wrath. Yeah. Or I Baleful, if I roll that 3rd Horseman, I can Baleful Banker that and then get it. So, as you said, the decision making being so late is actually what makes the deck quite good, but boom, boom. Forget everything we just said. Welcome! At last! It took us a few rounds, but Cloning Gallery Priest got there. As suddenly, you can just die, and APX does not get washed 3-0. To be killed yourself, so having to juggle that is very interesting, but it looks like we'll get to that later as we are not messing around. We're going to get straight into game number 4, and it's Nalguidan, of course, on the Paladin, but now Apxvoid's just like, I can get a win with this Hunter.
He's got to do it. This is much more standard Hearthstone than compared to the Paladin Mirror, as you said, which gets very strange indeed, that we will cover later on. But Apxvoid with an interesting mulligan in keeping tracking Master's Call and Dire Frenzy. Not a single minion actually being kept in his starting hand in terms of getting the pressure rolling. But lots of ways to find that minion.
Yeah, and you know, don't quote me on this exact deck list from Apxvoid.
Oh, I will. It's already done. I just tweeted.
Derek's stupid. There's the quote. Quote me. No? Okay. So I will say that Master's Call is actually one of the highest win rate cards in this rough style of aggro/hybrid hunter from Mulligan, actually, because it's 3 mana, draw 3B, something Hunter's never really had before, and the card that's really tipped over Hunter over the edge in terms of power level.
Raven 2019.
Okay, tweet that. I can't wait. If you remember exactly what I said, you're not allowed to watch the VOD. But yeah, I think Master's Call is a very reasonable keep, even though in Hunter, the deck where you want to 1, 2, 3, 4 them feels weird, but it works.
I agree. And I think very often, the play that is not made enough is coin Master's Call.
Oh, yeah,
like,
just
that's
get more
just fantastic.
stuff. Yeah?
Because this is a deck that relies on combos of cards. It's not a combo deck, it's like a tempo deck, but a lot of the cards individually are not that powerful. It's when they're greater than the sum of their parts in the form of, you know, rushing out these spring paws to buff up your hyenas and adapting them with the razor maws as well. You can get some truly disgusting combos.
The deck plays Timberwolf. That's
Yes.
all you really need to know, right? You know,
Absolutely.
it's a 1-mana 1/1.
Yeah.
It's just not a great card, but it can also just kill you.
Yeah.
You know, so I completely agree. Like Master's Call really is the card that has put Hunter at the top right now. You know, options. And all I'm doing if I'm Apxvoid is just thinking, don't let the Razor Maw die, because next turn I can Dire Frenzy it, and then that's just good. I wonder if trade the plant and then just play Link's Hero Power. It might look weird because you miss 1 damage to face technically.
Yeah.
It gives you multiple Dire Frenzy targets because I think you want to get cooking. We're not waiting for zombies for Dire Frenzy.
It's just the awkward fact that the Dire Frenzy and Master's Call, they don't flow into each other perfectly, because obviously he wants to go Dire Frenzy first, then Master's Call to just pull that straight out the deck and get a buffed up minion once again. But just playing Master's Call on this turn is what he wanted to do. But
I don't mind
as
this
I
though
pointed
turn
out- 5,
because if you hit it, say on the Razor Maw, you can probably
play
draw
it
one and
straight
play
again.
one, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you're
yeah.
just like, whoa. Then your opponent almost has to have equality. They almost just have to, or they're just dead.
Yeah, I agree. I think overall I like this, but it's kind of sad that he has to take what is a very weak turn right now.
Right.
Like, he sets this up for Hyena, which maybe gets played next turn,
I like it though, because it's only really Consecrate. And is your opponent going to Consecrate this? It's kind of a win-win.
Yeah, I think he'd be pretty happy. Like I said, it's not the dream case, but I think Apxvoid has done a very nice job of setting up a hand that he clearly had a plan for, keeping it right from the mulligan.
Yep. Oh, Christology means that there's going to be no Righteous Protector, so this Dire Frenzy is going to the noggin. If Apxvoid goes to play, he could get the Hyena down, but I don't think he needs to.
I'm pretty sure he's setting up for one big minion, right? That's what the Paladin really
Yeah, I
struggles to
love
deal
this from Void.
with. Here we go. Because next turn we could just see Master's Call to get another Razor Maw for
Right.
Wind Fury and just
And
kill
then
it.
you have 2 6/5s, one's buffed in whatever adapt is chosen.
Yeah.
Like, well, and then they start equality clearing. Great, I've got way more stuff.
Interesting choice of the Novice Engineer here for Nalguidan, because I was looking at Righteous Protector, Crystal Smith, Self Flash of Light, which I think Nalguidan will also be looking at now, just because it sets up a defensive maneuver on this turn
Right.
with the Righteous Protector, and also sets up for True Silver next turn.
And most importantly, Kangor can't be ignored.
Yeah.
I feel like whenever the situations occurred, where I've gone, you know what? Screw that guy. I'm just going to leave him. It can't be that bad. It always is that bad. You
always
cannot
that
leave him
bad.
up. It heals for too much. Like, it never works. And I've tried it so many times. I don't know why I keep trying it. It never works. Unleash the Hound is going to be able to punch through this Protector, though. If that's even the choice, maybe Flanking Strike's just...
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's a lot of options here. Like, Unleash Scavenging Hyena is obviously the most powerful immediately, but Apxvoid will be very afraid of some kind of a quality play, be it Consecration or Wild Pyro, which is why he's taking the somewhat more mediocre play, or limited at least in terms of its power for the moment, to make it more resilient and having more refill afterwards.
Nice thing is as well with this, with the Candle Shot, because you're immune, the Kangor doesn't actually heal from the attack you make onto it.
Yeah.
So it's a small benefit. Also, I'll note as well that although this seems slower from Apxvoid this past turn or so,
Yeah.
Again, as you mentioned, the deck can work if you just draw about 5 cards. And then you can sometimes play all those 5 cards, and then you win. So you can really just mesh everything together.
And
just throw a
especially-
big ball of beasts at your opponent's face in one turn.
To choose.
In addition to the fact that he still has the ability to set up for a big Rhino play in the next few turns, this Master's Call very possibly will find it. And if he gets Rhino plus 6/5 Razor Maw, that is when the amount of damage that can be delivered in one burst turn is actually to the point where it might be an OTK.
That timeout's very big, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Okay.
Getting value in Divine Shield.
Yeah, again,
like
it's just resilience. I think he's realized that's how important it is. It's the same as Nalguidan when this matchup was flipped. Just realizing Divine Shield, there's just very, very few answers to it.
But Novice Engineer, Potion, cycle, 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 cycle.
Yep.
It's what's really fun about playing this deck. You often draw every single card in your whole deck. I will say this is one of the matchups where you can almost guarantee that you do not need to 25 them and set up the Shivala.
Yeah.
You often just want to bounce Shivala, and then Hunter does not have the tools to beat multiple 7/5 rush lifesteal minions. Because you effectively heal back up to full.
As Nalguidan is not feeling inspired by a language hacker and didn't try and go for the exact lethal with Holy Wrath through to face.
I've done that once so far playing the deck where I've
Really?
gone, you know what? Let's go. And it was
Yeah.
like 10 cards left in deck, and I just nailed it straight off the top.
I mean, we have seen that not as much as I would have expected already so far this week, and there's a lot of matchups where you just have to Hail Mary with the Holy Wrath and hope that it gets there.
It's probably the best outcome for APX as well.
Yep.
And when your opponent plays timeout, it's very frustrating because it's you can't do anything. If you play more minions on the board, then it's just more likely more minions are going to die.
Yeah.
But using that one turn to get the slow Rexar play is actually it's almost just an even, okay, we both took a breather.
Yeah.
Now we're back playing the game again, go.
I mean, it's very similar to back in the day when you got Frost Nova Doomsayer. You wanted to spend your mana on drawing cards, developing Death Knights, whatever else.
I think I like the clear this turn. Not necessarily because it's amazing, but because it's 6 mana you spend on reducing Shivala down to 6. Then you can Holy Wrath next turn, reduce it down to 1, and then you have... This gets so sick. You end up Shivala, Zola, bounce the Zola, Shivala, bounce the Zola. You know, it's so sick. It's so sick. At this point, I don't know if APX can win. I'm putting it out there right now.
Really?
Well, he has like, what, 5 to 6 Shivalas, depending on how he plays it. You can also bounce the Baleful Banker if you want and do it that way. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe you're right. I was going to say that Shivalas heal a lot, but they don't necessarily develop that much board presence. But when you Zola them, they kind of do actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you leave 2 on the board, or even leave 1, and then you've still got 1 in your hand.
However, if he were going to win, this feels like a pretty good way to go about it.
I mean, that also works instead of Holy Wrath.
Yeah,
you do that because it saves the... You can still Baleful later and Holy Wrath face for an additional 25.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he could just Shivala on this turn, right? He could just go Shivala, kill it, and then Youthful back to hand.
That's true. I do like just playing Zola, though.
Oh, yeah.
Still Shivala Zola.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, okay. Just because I love leaving just a 7/5 that has lifesteal on an empty board. It's like, what are you going to do? And we're going to see that he's going to Hunter's Mark it. But great, well, there's Hunter's Mark. What do you do about the next one? And then the next one, and then the next one?
It does mean that Nalguidan is starting to limit his potential for the Horseman OTK. If he does want to go for that, he will have to hang on to both Brewmasters and this Baleful Banker. But I agree with you that it looks like he's most likely leading towards instead the 25 damage OTK.
I'm very interested to see what APX does about Zola. Because this is a double threat right now. Because if you let Zola bounce, then it creates actual additional copies instead of using the Brew to just bounce 1 copy. And it's much more powerful.
It seems crazy to me as well that this is turn 9 that this is happening. And look at the crazy powerful stuff that both decks are doing here. And there's 8 cards left in the deck, and it's not even 10 mana.
Is the Lynx and the Wolf coming down? Or, okay, APX decides that's a bit of overkill and not the keyword. But it's a little bit scary. So would you Pyro, Shrink Ray, bounce the Zola, and just call it a day?
I think that's overkill. I don't think you need to be protecting the Zola that heavily. Like, I agree.
Well, no, but the problem is if it stays in stealth, then you can't protect the Shivala.
Oh, right. But
It's poison.
Well, what, you just bounce back the Zola instead then, right? You just...
Oh, sorry, bounce the Zola. Yeah.
Interesting. Opting to just chill here instead.
I'm surprised there was no bounce. Is it Zola just always better than a Brewmaster?
Well, in terms of when you're doing the Horseman OTK, sometimes you need the extra mana to go for something like Equality plus Consecration, whereas Zola doesn't fit in when you're playing the hero power and bouncing it back. But I agree, it's pretty niche situations. I would usually rather be able to generate an extra Shivala.
Yeah, very surprising here. And as we said, though, your thoughts of Hunter from the past are kind of gone because it's late game.
Yeah.
And look at all the cards APX has, and they all mesh together, as we said at the start. This is still scary. Nalguidan is not out of the woods, which is why I thought bouncing the Zola gives you just more Chevalets to fight this.
Yeah. Especially as that is now a Rhino that has been generated. I didn't quite catch what the extra 1 mana beast thrown on top of that is, but if that's a young Dragonhawk, then this is really scary. As lifesteal in addition to that, but still pretty respectable amount of damage coming through here.
Well, you still have to remember, you can just be Holy Wrath, right? So 4 heal to put you outside of 25 is still important.
Good point.
You're not out of the woods.
He's not dying at the moment. It would have to be Uther coming down in order to get the, obviously, 5 damage from the weapon plus the 25 from Chevala.
What's funny is if he plays the zombies, then Uther needs to swing twice because he's got 1 arm to push him outside of the Uther 1-hit range. Okay, surely there's going to be some kind of rays that shrink involved in this turn.
Could those rays that shrink be Shrink Ray?
Maybe. Yeah, I like this. There's no other turn. That's the problem. Nalguidan, if he doesn't do this, he passes.
Yeah.
So
it's the only real play.
It brings the Chevala down to 1. That's the thing as well with the Zola. You Chevala Zola, then you can bail for Banker, and the Chevala you've left might hit face and then you lethal.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you completely. I think it should have been bounced back.
So many things to think about with this deck. It's why it's so sweet. It's so cool to play.
But Apxvoid sees the opening here after a board clear has been used, but Pyro Equality off the top for Nalguidan. He could even go Chevala Brewmaster for bounce first if he wanted to, which
I like it.
I don't hate that.
I like it because if there's just charge minion kill command, you're probably dead.
Yeah.
And it could be, you know, you could make that minion.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have taken 7 heal. I don't know what these Brewmasters are waiting for. That's my question. I would have taken 7 heal every day of the week.
Well, what it does mean is that he does still have the possibility for the Horseman OTK. All the while he goes on to both Brewmasters and the Banker. He still doesn't have to go for the Holy Wrath.
Wait, whoa. Shouldn't he have Master's Called? Does he have normal Thunder Rhino? He has Life Drinker, and doesn't he have the buffed Razormaws left, the Dire Frenzied Razormaws? I thought he could have maybe killed him that turn.
Maybe you're right.
I mean, he didn't draw it, but I'm sure there's still 2 buffed Razormaws. We saw Life Drinker, there's the Rhino, and it actually pulls unique beasts. You can't pull the same beast twice, so it's incredibly likely you draw, you know, what you need.
So
APX so good.
Sorry, Apxvoid here needs to try and set up lethal without playing a minion. Because if he plays a minion, Chevala can rush in and heal back up.
So he killed... But can he? 6? No, he's 1 off, right?
Well, no,
if
he'd gone Rhino, because that's a 3/6 Rhino, because of the zombies with Penguin. Rhino plus Hyena plus Kill Command. That would have been exact lethal, right?
Right, but he didn't have it. Not got the mana.
Next turn.
Oh, sorry.
Set up the lethal next turn without playing a minion, but he decided to play a minion here, which allows Chevala to attack in. Obviously, he's afraid of... I don't know what heals left in there. Uther, I guess
Uther's the big one.
Pretty much just Uther, right?
But even then, Uther swings. Oh no, 2 damage to face. And this is the problem. I don't know any decks in Hearthstone that beat this. Only 1 minion down, though, means that the Chevala only gets 1 attack. So it is just a +7, up to 15. But now what do you do? You Dire Frenzy that zombies. That's what you're doing.
I guess you have to. And then just hope you top deck it again next turn.
Should he have just kill commanded face?
Well, no, I'm saying he should have done nothing. Hope that Uther wasn't top decked, and then you can go 3 attack Rhino, 2 attack 2 attack Hyena, and then kill command was exactly 10.
But if you kill command face, you can. Wait, let me think. Because I was thinking you can Life Drinker deal 6.
Yeah.
Which is more.
Oh yeah.
You can Life Drinker Thunder Rhino, which is.
Well,
6.
Either way, have the same effect.
Yeah. Which is why I just thought, well, just kill command, get the mana spent. It's 3 damage, puts him to 7. Uther's drawn though, and
The healing is absolutely there for Nalguidan, whilst Apxvoid has some very powerful
most
options.
importantly,
He needs to find them right now.
There has to be a taunt this turn or he's dead.
Pretty much. Or armor gain off of a beetle, I suppose. And he'd
So you'd have to kill
activate
Commander
it as well.
Beetle. And then you just you just admitted defeat right there anyway. Wow. There are a couple.
I don't think he's found it though. Oh, he has to adapt for taunt.
So he has to play the 2/2 drops and then Ravasaur.
So he's got two choices
goes.
at it. Yeah. Because he can go Razormaw and then run, like you said. He's got to find it right now, and he knows that he has to find it.
Oh.
There is the taunt.
Wait, does it matter? Oh yeah, 1 mana because he
One mana
can't
off.
hit. Yeah. But he has to do that again because Nalguidan's got 2 swings. He needs to adapt weapon destruction. The new adapt coming with this expansion. Another taunt, that's nice.
Double taunt here, but Nalguidan can just go Shavala Brewmaster on this turn.
Yeah.
Swing with the weapon, which means Apxvoid has to find another taunt, or that's
Hey,
just it.
He doesn't have to swing with a weapon because he can conk.
Well, he has to kill off the 3/5 taunt, right? Like that doesn't die to the consecration. Oh, but
Right,
he
with
Shavala that
Brewmaster.
instead.
So he
of
has
the-
still has 2 swings of the weapon still, which I like.
Yeah,
Because
so
conk's not getting better.
should he leave up? Because he could decide to swing with the weapon to save the health now while he plays timeout and kill off everything. Instead, he's not played Consecration at all to try and destroy a small taunt.
I guess, but how likely is it that they build a small
Oh no, he's just got
taunt?
lethal, sorry, he's just got lethal.
Oh, did we just not?
Yeah.
We were so deep in the tank, it didn't even matter. The double, the
Lovely spot
bounce, and then the clear. Nalguidan takes the win after all that build-up. We whiffed it, but at least we were talking about fun stuff. There's 25 damage to the face. And the questions have to be asked, and I don't know the answers, but did there need to be some kind of